We're starting.
All right.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Tabitha Dial from Creating Refuge. We have a guest today, Alisha, who's going to guide us a little tour of the stars briefly in a little bit. But we want to give folks a little bit of time to see that we're here and to come on in. If you're already here, please say hi. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And my question as we're waiting for folks, Alisha, is, are you a sunshiny day kind of person, or do you like the rain?
I love the sunshine. I live in New York State, so we don't get a lot of that up here. So it's definitely something that we can, we really look forward to. It only happens for a couple months a year, so I'm a sunshiny day kind of girl.
Yeah, I can see that. That's very fair. I love the rain, though. I love things to stay green, and for me not to have to water everything in my backyard.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody who has joined. Today, we're with Alisha, and I'd love for you to please introduce yourself and a creative goal you might have for your own Substack, so we get to know a little bit of you and what you create here.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Alisha. I'm creating the Alchemy room right now. So right now on Substack, I'm building following of people who are interested in learning about astrology in a way that helps them to apply it to their own life and actually align with their cosmic blueprint on a daily basis. So rather than just giving a reading and walking away okay, cool, my Venus is in Aquarius, I quirky things, it's no, how can I use this in my everyday life? So that's kind of where I'm going with my Substack right now. My creative focus is producing the coursework and things like that right now that are going to go into the Alchemy room so that people can start. And my first course, which should be coming out in the next month or so, to get the basics of how all of this fits together.
Outstanding. I was going to say, I think I saw you post something about that specifically, and that you were looking for a certain number of people to help you.
Yeah.
Polish it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured, I can always put out the free course first and just, as people are working through it, if anyone wants to work together to provide that feedback, and then in the future, kind of in exchange, ending up getting those courses that will be paid for free in exchange for that. Feedback that can help me to edit and revise and just make it more user-friendly. I think that would be an awesome way to collaborate with followers.
And a win-win.
Yeah.
Win. And hey, Alex, good to see you. Good to see everybody. So with creating Refuge, we like to focus a lot on poetry prompts, helping poets and creatives with short-term goals, those type of things. What do you think is the most poetic of the signs?
I was thinking so much about that question, and at first I jumped right to, I'm Gemini, because we're so chatty and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm no, maybe Pisces, because they have that creative, boundless, flowing kind of transmuting ability, right? Of taking that emotional feeling and moving through it. And then I fell into all the other ones, and I realized from my perspective, and maybe this is my Gemini duality perspective, but I can see a way that each one of the signs has a poetic ability. It just might be expressed in a different way. Scorpio, for example, they might not be not poetic. It might just be more deep and mysterious and metaphorical. It may not be so direct and forward, maybe Sagittarius is very explicit with whatever they're expressing in their poem. I'm seeing Scorpios a short little piece that's means a lot in 10 words instead of being this whole thing. Or Capricorn, maybe they're writing haikus because they like to have the structure and the, so that's.
Yeah, it's funny. You could almost see Scorpio. I wonder if Edgar Allan Poe, for example, was a Scorpio. I didn't even think of all that. Wonderful. Yeah.
I couldn't land on one, but there's definitely some that I think would have an easier ability to express it. So I think those would be Pisces, Gemini. Those are the two that come to mind first. Cancer, but that might be more of an internal emotional processing. I'm not sure how the expression piece could come out as easily.
Sure, that's more than fair. Yeah.
What were
And
your thoughts on that?
I think that is a beautiful way of looking at it. And there are creators who have taken the time to say, this is your poetic form if you're this sign and that sign. And yeah, Aquarius is very much a free form one. Gemini, I cannot remember, but it cracked me up because I'm always looking out for Gemini. We're both Gemini rising. Now, are you Gemini sun?
No, I'm Aquarius sun.
Okay, I was gonna say happy birthday just happened in that case.
No, the only thing for Gemini is just my rising.
Yeah, and as a poet, I feel each of the elements of the zodiac all have their strengths, like being able to be grounded and detail oriented like the earth signs, being able to take risks and be fearless like the fire signs, those water signs we've talked about, the emotional depths. And that would leave the air signs having the words love and language, and to a certain degree looking for equality, and if you're a Libra especially, trying to balance out the lines.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then when we chatted before, you had mentioned like fire signs, and I hadn't really thought about ways that fire signs had been more poetically expressive. How did you talk about fire signs again?
I think it's just that they are willing to take risks and they're very passionate.
Yeah. And I think risk taking is a big part of any kind of creative process, that if you don't have the drive to like put it out there, or the boldness of like, oh, what I'm writing is someone thinks it's weird, or, if you get like self-conscious of that, then you might be those might be the signs that are more creating for themselves, right? And they're not putting it out there for others to see.
Yeah. But you got it. Poetry's meant to be heard, y'all.
Meant to be heard. There's no wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so sweet. So, Alisha, you describe the pre-shadow Mercury retrograde, which is really what we're still in the tail end of, as in your article about Mercury retrograde, as kitchen table conversations. You're appropriately in your kitchen or outside your kitchen. And kitchen table conversation sounds like a wonderful title for a book of essays or poetry. Do you want to expand on what you are talking about in that article and what you want us to know about the pre-shadow and kitchen table conversations?
Yeah, thanks. I think that for kitchen table conversations, I speak a lot metaphorically. My moon's in Scorpio, so I tend to use a lot of metaphors. And the way that I was looking at kitchen table conversations is like, in the pre-shadow period, we're getting that preview to kind of what's going to come up again during that retrograde and what we're going to move forward with once it goes direct again. So in that pre-shadow period, I'm imagining a family sitting around a dinner table, and it's like a no phones policy. Everyone has to, engage in conversation, and maybe we've got the food on the table, family style, to serve out. And it's based around like, what are we going to just be chatting about today? How are you feeling about your day? How was your day at school? What happened at work? Kind of just conversations that seem mundane, but there's an emotional depth to them. It's intended for connection. So when we move forward into that retrograde period, there might be a conversation that was had in the quote unquote dinner table that kind of comes back up. Maybe mom said like, so what are some of your favorite, Disney characters and whatever. And then you realize during the retrograde, mom's like talking about something going somewhere, and then you find out during direct that, oh, she was talking about going to Disney World. She wanted to figure out which hotel we stay at, right? Just something where it's like you have these little kind of breadcrumbs during that shadow period. Yeah, where you don't know necessarily where they're going to lead, so it might be more difficult to notice them in the moment. But then when you can look back and think, okay, something from these couple weeks is going to be reflecting now during this retrograde, looking at like our notes, our messages, our pictures, that sort of stuff can help us to go, oh, maybe that's what that was seeding.
That's really exciting and cool. That, I could feel it in my gut. That almost makes me feel more comfortable about the whole Mercury in retrograde concept. I think a lot of people don't like Mercury in retrograde, and we'll explore that a little bit more.
It's a bad rap.
Yeah, it does. So you may have already answered this, but what role does memory and reflection play right now, astrologically and creatively?
Yeah. So because that Mercury retrograde is happening in Cancer, Cancer is that like emotional safety sign. So because it has that kind of nostalgic feel to it, it's bringing us into the past. So that's again bringing it to that kitchen table conversations. It's not something that it's not posting on social media. It's not talking about it at work. It's like kind of in that private, emotionally safe space that we're exploring those topics. And so maybe it's a drive in the car or somewhere on like a trip, and you're all talking about things. But the emotional security and safety that comes with it, I think, is where I was going with the purpose behind that part. And it does matter like where it falls in your chart too, because if it's in a different house, it might be expressed or show up in a different way. And I think that's a good way to help us filter our experiences, instead of being like, okay, everything that happened in this 2 week period, what do I need to hone in on and find the little breadcrumbs? Like for us, we're Gemini rising, it's in our second house. So we might be able to focus it in on like, okay, something with my finances or something with my values or my self-worth, is being seeded to revisit and move forward through.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah. And on that note, if you
Mhm.
aren't following both of us, please be sure you follow us both, or subscribe rather.
Mhm.
And I think the button is like just straight up, because you recently put a note out there that was like, let me know your rising sign, and then I'll help you understand just what you were talking about with where the house is with the retrograde happening right now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
little fun plug right there. Oh gosh. So this is from my last article. I blame Mercury retrograde is an excuse, not an affirmation. And in my book, Cheese Astrology, I have a whole ton of affirmations that I like to serve up with every little entree or entry. Um, so that's why that kind of came in. I want to explore that idea of how Mercury retrograde is not as an excuse, and how do we reframe that when we look at our birth charts? You kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a way, I think using like those kind of affirmations or mantras can be really helpful when we know where to focus it. And rather than it being something that, like, some people will look at these as like, oh, I'm trying to create this in my reality. So I want to be like, I am confident. But it can also be a way to look at, right? You're just like reaching for, like, I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
But it could also be a way to just kind of align to your natural energy, like you and I having Cancer in our second house, instead of a kind of holistic affirmation that's like, I don't know, whatever. It can be like based in that second house theme. So, like, I
Mhm.
feel because Cancer, the value in my work when I sort of thing. So it helps you to find that balance of like checking in with yourself each day. Am I following what feels right to me in that Cancer area of life? Or any other sign. But of course, for Mercury retrograde, we're focusing in on that Cancer area. So for me personally, like as a Gemini rising, we talked about, I like to use the mantra, I'm open, curious, and excited about what will be. That's how I kind of walk into every room. I look at everything through that lens, but then also filtering it towards that Cancer life. So I can walk into the room open, curious, and excited, but also know that I need to feel emotionally resonant with what I'm making money on, or what I'm spending money on, or whenever I'm, having conversations around my values or worth, it needs to feel emotionally resonant. Otherwise, it's not really going to land for me. So it helps me kind of realign and check in with myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's so funny how so many people are just like, I don't even know what my sign is.
Mhm.
There's either folks who really love astrology, or it just hasn't made sense to them, or
Mhm.
been exposed or explored it. But I love it, having that Gemini energy myself. The curiosity. What was it? Curious, playful, and
Open, curious, and excited.
ah, yes. I just met my first real life raccoon.
Oh, wow. I have not met.
Yes. Yeah, well, not just right this minute, but about 24 hours ago. And I have a little book to interpret what their meaning is. And it said that they were playful, curious, and solitary. I was like,
Oh.
sounds like me. I love that there's this intersection there. Not been exposed or explored, but love listening. Aw, thank you, Wild. Good to have you here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's so interesting. Yeah, there's it's like its own literacy and its
Mhm.
own language, astrology or animal interpretation, all sorts of things that people don't necessarily dip into, you know.
I love that you said illiteracy too, because I've been talking a lot about that on my page because I'm previously coming from the classroom and working with like the science of reading, and then I was coaching teachers, and now I'm kind of taking those skill sets and bringing them into astrology, where I want to teach people to see their chart as a literacy, as something that you're learning to read. So in the same way that a kindergartner is not going to pick up a chapter book and like read it, summarize it, and be able to synthesize the whole thing, we can't even
No.
expect that, right? Because they're still looking at the symbols on, they're looking at the
Mhm.
letters. And the same thing with the chart. If you don't know what the symbols mean when you look at it, there's no way to synthesize all of that. So I want to be able to break that down in like a scalable way where people can see essentially the same way that a child learns to read, but for an adult to read something more complex like a birth chart, it really takes the same systematic like structure.
That's beautiful, and I hope you write a post about it or something if you haven't already.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and Wild was also talking about the raccoons are destructive. And yeah, just like
Mhm.
any sign has the possibility to be destructive, sometimes self-destructive, sometimes with
Mhm.
other relationships with others. There's good and bad of everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So we're
Dual
looking out.
expressions of the same energy.
Yeah, so we're looking out for that with our raccoon visitors for sure. Thank you.
Be the good raccoon.
It's cute as it is. It's huge. Um, oh, so for Mercury retrograde, I do have a concept of creating affirmations in the book that I've published, and I did share those affirmations in the last article. Have you done a lot of have you found that to be a good match for you, matching people with their affirmations based on their own astrology?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that a couple of ways that that falls in is like stelliums, because that's where you're going to have a really large, that's where you have a lot of planets in one area. So you kind of have like a heavy energy in that space. So having affirmations around that stellium or having affirmations around that rising sign, because that's where your kind of perspective is entering into the room in all cases. So I've really looked at them in those two kinds of ways. And when I make posts, sometimes I'll say, like, if you comment your rising sign, I can give you a mantra, or sometimes it'll be right in the article. And they're usually based on your rising, which is interesting. A lot of people don't always know what that is. So it can be a little bit of a challenge. Often people are commenting with rising sign, I mean, with their sun sign, which is also a great
Mhm.
place to have that.
Yeah,
Um, but it kind of orients a little differently when we talk about rising.
I love that. Wild has no clue at the
Well,
moment.
good. Well, I can give you a quick suggestion. If you go on any of the astrology websites, for example, a lot of people use astroseek.com. It's a kind of complex looking, but if you just throw in your birthday, you do need your birth time to get your rising sign. So as long as you know your birth time, and if you don't, it should be on your birth certificate. Usually is. Time is going to give you that rising sign.
Oh, and oh yeah, on that note, I'm a big Beatles fan, and apparently George Harrison, there's a debate about exactly what time he was born because it was during World War II, and they didn't really have nobody was really paying attention to the clocks and things like that. So there's a debate whether or not he's, I believe, Scorpio or Libra rising,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
interesting.
what a different dynamic between those two. Huh.
Yeah, because the rising sign changes in the sky every 2.5 hours. So if you've got like kind of a range idea, you can kind of get it somewhat precise, but you're right. It could be right on the end of that time slot. And you're like, am I a 28-degree Scorpio? I mean, Libra, or am I a 2-degree Libra? That really
Hmm.
could change within every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I see. Wild said that they're only their date is on their certificate. I actually have seen that happen too. If you know what hospital you were born at, you can usually call there and either get that information over the phone, or they may make you pay like $30 to have like a new one sent with that time on it. But there are astrologers who can rectify birth times through a lot of questioning and birth chart reading. That's not something that I specialize in, but I know it's out there. So
interesting. Good to know. So the affirmation I have in the Cheese Astrology book for Mercury Retrograde, there's about 6 of them. I smartly take my time. I am comfortable with the freedom of the unexpected. I retrace my steps. I accept loss. I mindfully watch my words. I almost stopped in the middle of that to kind of laugh at us getting ourselves set up for this very life with the freedom of the unexpected, because it's like so odd. It says you're invited. And I had trouble finding it this time. It just seemed very different from my last live. So yeah.
I like those. Yeah, especially like the unexpected, because that, especially like Uranus moved into Gemini recently too. So that's giving that kind of more a little bit chaotic, but it doesn't have to be in a bad way, but it's just that unexpectedness of maybe it's for the better, but it still might be an unexpected shift that you have to kind of easily adjust to.
Yeah, logic kind of goes out the window with Geminis are very inquisitive, but they're not necessarily gonna, and they're brilliant, but they're not necessarily going to be the most logical, straightforward all the time. And that's, I think, why there's the bad rap with Gemini energy as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard that a lot of people have that bad rep for Geminis. I'm like, we just want to see everyone's perspective. We just want to know all the details.
We're not gossiping. Well, some of us want the tea, right? Nobody's perfect. I know you had an experience of a tangible affirmation that you found, and thank you, Wild, for this being your first live that you've found pop up. Yay! So for you, Alisha, you had something that was an affirmation that you told me about that like popped up to you and appeared for you. What was that like for you?
So it was actually that open, curious, and excited one. I didn't create it myself. I had gone to like a crystal shop type of place. I was buying like incense and different little things. And at the checkout counter, she had oracle cards that were just kind of spread. And at the time, I actually hadn't bought any. I had never used them. I didn't really know what they were, but they were just all spread face down. And she's like, do you want to pick one? And I'm like picking them up and looking at them. And she's like, no, that's not how that works. You just pick one. And then whatever it says is kind of like your mantra. And I'm like, okay. So then I picked one and it said, I'm open, curious, and excited for what will be, or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, curious, Gemini; open, Gemini; excited, Gemini. I'm like, that's like a really good mantra for me personally. And then it made me think more about how other rising signs can have their own mantras too. But that's where that idea came from for me. Love when the universe just drops those little hints for you. I wonder if Mercury was in retrograde at the time, and I just didn't know yet where that was going.
It just wasn't on your radar. I love too that open and Aquarius for your sun. You know, there's the air signs have a lot of good overlap too. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's funny that because you hadn't told me that you were just kind of like a toddler almost. And that is the Gemini energy. If you look at the zodiac wheel and you say, okay, Aries is like the little baby. And then you get to the third sign is like the little toddler trying to grab everything and understand things, even stick them in their mouths, because Geminis are so verbal and fascinated with talking and learning new languages. Makes a lot of sense that you were just like, okay. And you're like, no.
Nope, don't touch, right? It's like hitting the hand of the toddler, like, nope.
And how perfect that those were the words that when you were like, okay, and you let yourself focus on the exercise itself, those words came for you anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy how it just comes to you like that. And Wild just left us a really nice compliment. Just loving your positive energy here. Thank
Oh,
you. It's the double Gemini. We're both the Gemini rising. We can't help but be curious and excited.
yes. Well, and Wild's been a supporter for a while, and it's very nice to see
Oh,
again. Yeah. We were gonna do some work on some affirmations. We could do that with our chat here.
mm-hmm.
Um, so I was thinking of as a way to prepare ourselves for Mercury in retrograde. So some of what would you say are key things to look out for in Mercury retrograde time?
Yeah, so it starts, was it the 29th, right? Was that the
Right.
date? Yeah. So we've got a couple more days. So leading up to then, once the Mercury retrograde starts, I think like you started with having that ability to be flexible around the way that things go. I think people lean back on the whole Mercury's in retrograde and this is a bad thing and oh no, everything's going to go wrong, right? And I think
Mhm.
everything in life is about being able to reframe your thinking through that positive lens. So whenever we're seeing something go wrong, the computer dies, you have no service, the miscommunication that happens, you send the wrong message to the wrong person, being able to perceive it through, okay, but why did that happen? What did that show me? Maybe I
Mhm.
need to be more careful. Maybe I need to use more discernment. Maybe I, need to be more prepared. What is that teaching me about me? Not just Mercury's here to ruin my life because I needed to be on that Zoom or, whatever the thing is, like maybe it wouldn't have gone very well. Maybe that's why you didn't end up on the call, or maybe the email didn't send to the employer because it really wasn't a good job for you and you just didn't know that.
I
So
needed to hear that. Rejection is protection. A friend had
oh,
to remind me of that today.
yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Outstanding. Yeah. So you were talking about reframing,
Mhm.
being more discerning, possibly,
Mhm.
and all the flexibility, and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of extra patience at this time.
Because when we think about Mercury is home in Gemini. So when we talk about that Gemini energy, just for like context for those listening, that Mercury and Gemini kind of they work together. That's the sign that Mercury likes to live in. So all of the Gemini energy we talk about is what Mercury wants to be expressing. But right now, being in Cancer, it has a little bit of it's not at home, it's not uncomfortable, but it's not at home. So it's not as easily expressive. It might start kind of internalizing those feelings a little bit more than it's used to
Mhm.
being able to easily just express whatever it wants to say.
I
So
love
being
that.
like gentle with yourself, knowing that this is a time where you might have a lot going on in your head. You might be able to like think of all these things, but getting it out in a way that makes sense to other people might not be the time for that piece to happen. It might be more for yourself to reflect and understand whatever
Mhm.
this is trying to teach you.
Yeah. And if you want a breakdown of from now till mid-August, I think,
Mm-hmm.
your article just really was super thorough of what you can expect as far as your creative energies, and are they going to be flowing? Are they not? And this is why. And it's really cool to see all of that information.
And thank you.
Yeah. So do we still think Gemini, Pisces are poetic? Or does
Yeah, I
everybody have
think
Cancer feels pretty poetic now.
yeah, right. Cancer definitely because it has that like emotion, that extra emotional depth. It might, what I wonder if it's just more about the timeline, like how quickly it can be produced and put into words more so um,
Mhm.
than like an objective better worse, just more how and in what way and how long does it take. Aries probably wants to just post it right away. They're like, it's great how it is. I don't want to reread it.
Perfect. Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's bad. Maybe the first thing that came out was great and no need to edit. Uh,
Yeah. No
yeah,
revision needed.
right.
Which is such a funny word for it right now with talking about Mercury retrograde. That is the reframe, the revise, the review period of time, which is something
Mm-hmm.
I really love about it. Um, One thing I found really interesting, and this is going to take us on a slightly different path. I'm going to read from your article. You said the South Node in Leo marks the release of work built around visibility, the kinds of pieces written to impress specific people. There's no more space for shining as a form of egoic survival. The North Node in Aquarius shifts readers toward a voice that belongs to more than one person, like a piece that helps them navigate the world together. So you're with that part, you were indicating to us that there's going to be a shift where North Node is going to be in Aquarius. How encouraging is that for people who want to collaborate or people who maybe didn't want to be so much in the spotlight?
Yeah.
How do you see this happening around you?
Yeah. So for me personally, from coming from the classroom now to this platform, I'm kind of letting go of the concept of the South Node was in Virgo, and now it's moving into Leo. So in Virgo, it's more structured. It needs kind of like, here's what's going to happen next. Here's what's going to happen next. And it's like our comfort zone. It's what we're falling back on when things are kind of tough. And I noticed that, public school system is very regimented. You know what to expect every day. There's a schedule. You know what your role is. You know what the kid's role is. All those sorts of things. So shifting that into now the fallback is not just structure, but visibility is for me, like going North Node towards Aquarius is showing that collective effort to move towards expanding that mindset, expanding the communities, expanding all the teaching doesn't need to come from me. We can learn from each other, having those conversations in the chats, having conversations through the Alchemy room. Once that's opened up, we'll give those opportunities for, I might direct some learning, but then now let's refocus over here where there's a community of people that are learning together and talking through these things.
Yeah, the community mindset, which is going to heal a lot of things for a while. How long is the North Node going to be in Aquarius?
So it stays in one sign for 18 months. So it's starting in the end of July, beginning of August. Remember the exact date. And then we'll go 18 months from then.
Very cool.
And what's interesting about the North Node, it actually moves backward through the zodiac, opposite of how all the planets do. So it actually starts at the 29th degree of Leo and Aquarius and works backwards towards 0 degrees before going into the sign before it. So that's why we're going from Pisces to Aquarius and from Virgo to Leo.
Okay. Wow. Tricky. Well, excellent. I think that's really all we had, but except the idea of exploring maybe ways to embrace that North Node Aquarius would be fun. And I think it was funny that you started your response to that prompt that I gave you just back then of having come out of the classroom. And I'm like thinking, that was like an Aquarius space, but I could see as you described, okay, Virgo needs the regimen, needs the detail, needs that grounding routine.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed so the North Node being in Pisces while the South was in Virgo, that encouraged me to take away those boundaries, right? Take down the structures, allow things to kind of just flow as they will and trust that process and not needing to see like, I have the degree. So after the degree comes the job, and after the job comes the next job, and the things that we kind of get stuck into. It was like, let it flow as it will. Because I would have never imagined taking this direction before. But Pisces is actually my 10th house. So look at that. It's my career direction, my public image. So who knew?
Yep. Who knew? And that's funny because we started talking about the poetry and those two signs of Gemini and Pisces. Whew, I feel like I had another thought to throw at you. Oh, I love when I can introduce people to the whole North Node concept in their charts. It feels like it's such a big game changer, but I have not myself thought to track that in my life. So when you say that you hadn't thought you'd be in this space and you were referring to when Pisces was in the North Node, are you talking about, was that when you really started to embrace something in particular? What was that like for
Yeah.
you?
So it stays 18 months, right? So this could bring us back about a year and a half ago-ish. And at that point, I also was going through my Saturn return in Pisces, and Saturn is conjunct Mercury for me, which is my chart ruler. So I had a lot of wanting to communicate about things and wanting to share and wanting to talk, but about something structured, Saturn, right? And in my 10th house, career related and breaking down those boundaries, Pisces. So it evolved from over those 18 months of the North Node being there. So we're collectively moving towards having more boundless ideas and creativity. While at the same time, Saturn was reaching its return for me. So it's like, okay, what are we doing with the career now, Alisha? What are we doing with that? Because, back when you were born, sure, you took this one specific path for the last 30 something years, but
you were taking a first step back then. For anybody who doesn't know about Saturn return, that can be a very tumultuous time, approximately the age 27 to 31. I've heard different little takeaways from that, where it's like a quarter life crisis, and you will be reevaluating your job, your romantic life, your belief system, all sorts of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, wherever it's falling for you, right? So what house does your Saturn return fall in? Did your Saturn return fall in?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know what sign you have Saturn in?
Oh, I'm part of the Reading Rainbow generation. No, that's Neptune.
Yeah.
I want to say Virgo. It could very well be Virgo. I have a lot of Virgo planets.
Yeah.
And I
Then
know.
that would be maybe in your fourth, could be where your return landed around.
Oh, and that rules the home?
Yeah, like the home, the safety,
Yeah.
foundational safety.
Yeah, we moved. I moved.
That makes sense.
Very interesting. Very
Mhm.
cool. All right. So even in the upheaval, you can find some, at least the one beautiful thing about astrology is its patterns.
Yes.
And I think that can be a very helpful framework. There we are with that word again, or reframing for folks. So
Yeah, I think that's a great way to know, I didn't know about my Saturn return while it was happening. I knew about it after. So knowing about it while it's happening kind of gives you that light at the end of the tunnel that this isn't just my life. Everything's not just crashing. There's a reason. I'm going to use this for something after, and helps you to see that light, but also be intentional about that time and what you learn during it and how you can apply it after that.
I mean, from my own experience, I knew it was happening, and I don't think it helped. So,
oh no,
it allowed me, well, with my Pisces sun, with my Gemini moon and rising, I think it allowed my imagination and my ideas to just go wherever, and let myself have a lot of independence. So maybe in retrospect, it really was helpful because I took full advantage of it. But I think at the time, I don't know if I could have been more grounded and practical with it.
It gave you at least some validation, right? That okay, there's something going on now that I can expect there to be some upheaval, and it's not just me. It's not that I just have bad luck. It's not that, I chose the wrong thing. That's what this time is for. Yeah, giving you the little reframe.
I chose the thing that I thought was good at the time.
You always do, right?
And I chose the thing that gave me the lesson I needed in life, So, yeah. We learn. Thank you so much for your time. If there are any questions from chat, feel free to throw those in there. Until we get any questions, what are you working on now as far as your next post on Substack? What should we expect?
Yeah. So, sorry, could you do more? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say in the month ahead.
Yeah, so right now I'm building the coursework for the free course that I'm going to be putting out. The Alchemy Room's built into 4 levels. So the first one's the awareness room. So it's going to be bringing awareness to those really kind of foundational skills. What are the planets? What are the houses? What are the signs? What are the little glyphs and symbols that we see on the wheel? Like kind of the chart structure, all of that sort of stuff. What am I really looking at when I pull up my chart? So I'm going to be in the next month posting that course for people to join, and it's a free membership to create the account to get into that coursework. And so that's where I'm really headed right now. I'm going to be making some posts once that's live that can kind of promote that. One thing being my story to the Alchemy Room, kind of using my own astrology to decide on this direction and how I've crafted the time frames and sort of put myself in this position here and now, instead of it just being a random day. Trying to be really intentional about the transits and how they impact me.
Wow, that's incredible. It takes some vulnerability too.
Yeah, it does, because it's exposing things about yourself that otherwise no one else would really be able to know.
Yeah. And it just brings to mind how oftentimes people have used like celebrities and interpreted their charts to really explain things. And it's very eye-opening doing that as well. Oh, goodness.
The raccoon.
Back to the raccoon. No, I think it's the neighbor with their trash can. My next article is going to look at poetry prompts. It was funny because, I care so much about poetry, but I debated, do we need another, here's poetry prompts for the month of blah, blah, blah. And I asked in my sub chat, one of the suggestions was to also include a revision idea. So how perfect is that to introduce that during Mercury in retrograde? So yeah, my own Substack will take a little pause from the astrology, and I don't know, maybe once a month we will do an astrology or affirmation focused kind of article. And maybe we'll see Alisha doing a collaboration over the summer, over the fall, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm so excited about your class, and congratulations to you on all the hard work that's going into that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, if anyone, if you subscribe, the information will be right in my subscriber chat first. That's going to be first released before I put it out like publicly. So anyone who's interested in doing that and learning about their chart, that will be the place to grab the info first.
Sounds very good. All right. Thank you. Anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye?
No, I don't think so. This has been great. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and pick your brain on some of these topics, hear your insights, and just be able to be here live with you. This is my first live, so thank you for breaking me out of my shell.
And thank you for being our first astrologer guest. Yeah. That's very, very fun. Yeah, you just resonated. You just got that energy, like they were saying earlier in chat. So thank you for your expertise and your positive energy and being open, curious, and excited.
Yes.
All right. Much love to everybody. And we will see you around.
Yes, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.